Okay, so in preparation for the final exam, we're going to be reviewing a few homeworks from categorical logic from earlier in the semester. Seems like a long time ago, but first one I want to start off with, I'm going to do 4 different problems from homework 6 and subsequently homework 7, but I'm just going to take some of the first few problems, go all the way through the Venn diagrams, identifying the terms in the form, establishing validity, and the whole bit. So let's get started. This is problem number 1 in part A of homework number 6. So if you go back to that, it's in files on Canvas. There's a file for homework categorical logic, and then the answers that Rod has posted are also, there's a folder for answers categorical logic, and I believe homework number 7 was essentially the same questions as homework number 6. You just went all the way through with the Venn diagrams. So let's get started. First thing we need to do, this is already in standard form, but we need to double check it. So first step, I always start with the conclusion. So in making sure that this is in standard form, we're going to identify the major term, minor term, and the middle term, and make sure that everything's in the right place. So again, start with the conclusion. Thus, all things identical to Lassie are ferocious beasts. So the major term is always going to be the predicate of that proposition. So ferocious beasts would be your major term, and your minor term is always going to be the subject of the conclusion. So this would be all things identical to Lassie is going to be your minor term. So we'll just call that L for the minor term, all things identical to Lassie, and ferocious beasts for the major term. Oops, use the red marker there. We'll just call F. All right. So next thing we have to do is carry those up and make sure that they're in the right place. So the major premise is going to be on top. The minor premise is going to be second. And the major premise is going to be the one that contains the major term. We've already established that ferocious beasts, F, is the major term. So looks like that statement is in the right place. All dogs are ferocious beasts. Ferocious beasts is the major term, and it is on top. And then let's make sure all things identical to Lassie. The minor term is in the second statement. So we're good on that front. So next thing to do is to identify the middle term. So the middle term is the third term that isn't used in the conclusion, which would be here, dogs. So we'll just call that D. So let's translate it so that into this form using just these terms, because you'll see later when we get to the mood and the figure, it'll be easier to see what the figure is. So all dogs are ferocious beasts. It's all D are F. All things identical to Lassie are dogs, so all L are D. And then finally the conclusion, all things identical to Lassie are ferocious beasts, so all L are F. So let's establish the mood. So first we have to what we have to do for the mood is look at these three statements, and these are the A, E, I, O. So A is all R, E is no R, no SRP. The I is some SRP, the O would be some S are not P. So let's just identify each of those. This is an A statement, this is an A statement, this is an A statement. It's pretty easy. So you just go in line from top to bottom. A. And for the figure, remember there's 4 figures that categorical syllogisms can possibly be. And I always just remember this. There's lots of different ways that you can remember. I'm kind of a visual person, so I just remember that figure for the figures. So this is figure number 1. This is figure number 2. This is figure number 3. This is figure number 4. So what you're doing is you're looking at the placement of the middle term in the first 2 statements. So this is the middle term D. This is the middle term D. And you'll notice that it creates kind of a backslash, which lines up with figure number 1. So you take the mood and the figure, and that completes the form, which is AAA1. This is one of the most common and easiest forms. First Barbara, we call it. So in the second video, I will go over the Venn diagrams and testing for validity.